Hello everyone and welcome to Monday. Today I'm going to be talking about one particular subject because I get a lot of messages about it, and it's kind of hard to just type everything out and explain it that way, so I figured if I make this video I can redirect people back to it. Plus some people find it interesting and entertaining, so I'm just going to get on with it. Today I'm going to be talking about my Let's Play recording setup, because a lot of people want to know how I record these Let's Plays. I usually just respond with, I have capture card, but you might want something a little more thorough than that, so let's get started. Now as a precursor, I have to say that I'm going to be showing you how to record consoles, in particular HD consoles, or any console that can accept a component cable that will record 720p. The reason I say 720 and not any resolution is because this particular capture card that I use, the Blackmagic Intensity Pro, will only record 720p and 1080i with component. For whatever reason, and I really have no idea why, it will not do 480. There's another version of the Blackmagic called the Shuttle, which is an external card. Mine is internal. And the external one will do 480. If none of that made any sense to you, well, this might be hard to get through. Oh, and as a side note, if you are looking to do computer recordings, then get Fraps. That should be all I have to explain. Now first, you're going to need a console. We've got a PS3 and an Xbox 360. It really does not matter. I'm using component on both of those, and there's a reason for that. I'm not just using component for my health. I'm using component because HDMI doesn't work. Well, supposedly it does work on the 360. I've never tried it myself, but it doesn't work on the PS3. And the reason is there's actually a copy protection thing built into HDMI that is in place on the PS3, basically so you can't, like, I don't know, put a Blu-ray into your PS3 and record it with your computer and make copies of the Blu-ray or something. I don't know. It's really stupid. So anyway, because of that, I use component. Now, if you don't know what component is red, blue, green, and then your audio cables, which are red and white. You might be familiar with composite. Composite is red and white for audio, but it also uses yellow. Yellow is composite. Red, green, and blue is component. The big difference there is component is going to allow you to do HD. Composite is not. Composite is for standard definition. So we're going to assume that you have the exact same setup as I do. You may not, but that's okay. As long as you have the Blackmagic Intensity Pro or, you know, a comparable capture card, this should all look very similar. Now my capture card is inside my computer. I have a clear pane on the side of my computer so you can actually see again. That little itty bitty card in there is the capture card. The PCI Express number is like really low. It's like, I don't know, like 2x or 4x or something, so you can put it in a really low numbered slot. And it has a breakout cable, which is basically a catch-all cable that goes in down here. It's this big thick thing that you probably can't see because it's probably too dark. Anyway, the breakout cable is irrelevant because all it does is connect the capture card to all of these little cables. You see all of these little cables here? If I'm not mistaken, there's about 12 cables there. There is a component in and out, so that's 5 of each, that's 10. And then I'm pretty sure S-Video is on there too. And if you have like a different capture card, you might have composite, or you might have HDMI, etc. My capture card actually has HDMI as well, but it's on the physical card. You can see a little HDMI cable there, but I always use component. So now that I've kind of laid things out for you, I'm going to try and explain best I can how this process is working. Whenever you play a video game console, or you really connect anything to your television, a VCR, DVD, Blu-ray player, whatever, you're connecting it straight to the television using some sort of connection. In this case, we're talking about component, which is the 5 colors that I mentioned previous. Now, what we need to do in order to capture video is we need to reroute it through the computer and then back to the television, because we want to sit on the couch and watch the television. That's nice and convenient and quite comfy. But what we need to do is we need to send it to the computer so we can capture it and then send it back. So how we do this is, instead of going straight from the console to the television, instead we take that and we bring it around here, and you can see that this is the connection for my PS3. These are the PS3 cables I have. And if my computer sat closer, those PS3 cables would connect right into that breakout cable. And as I described a minute ago, that breakout cable is basically just allowing a bunch of connections into the capture card, because the capture card is, you know, too thin and small to have like 50 little wires to plug into it, so that breakout cable pretty much condenses things. Anyway, I don't have the luxury of having my computer sit right next to my television, so what I do is I extend the cable. This is like a 15-foot component cable. It's male on both ends. And because it's male on both ends, I need one of these, which is called a coupler. You can also call them a lesbian, but that's really not what they're called. So anyway, I'm taking the signal from the PlayStation 3, and it's going through here, and this is going all the way back and around here into the breakout cable, and the breakout cable goes into the actual captured card. Now once again, that long 15-foot cable is not necessary, it's just my PlayStation 3 is pretty far away from my computer. Once it's actually sent over here, that means the computer can receive the signal, and we can actually record the video, which is good. The Blackmagic Intensity Pro comes with a software program that will allow you to capture. Most capture cards do. You can also utilize popular editing programs. I think you can actually record stuff using like Final Cut, but I've never tried it because the capture program works just fine, and I kind of like it. So anyway, we have sent the signal from the PlayStation 3 to the computer, which is all well and good, but now we have to send it back. Now, I could send it back with Component. That's easy. I can do that. Component's no problem. The problem is, Component's kind of a hassle because there's 5 different connections. So, I decided that I would send it back using HDMI. That card, the Blackmagic Intensity Pro, has the breakout cable, yes, but it also has HDMI in and HDMI out. So we're going in with the breakout cable through Component, but we're going to come out with a HDMI cable. So in addition to this 15-foot component cable, which takes the PS3 signal and runs it all the way back around here to the computer, there is an HDMI cable that runs out of the computer all the way back around, which comes up right here. And you'll see it goes into my HDMI 1 port. So basically what I do is I turn on my PlayStation 3, it sends the signal to the computer, I run the capturing software on the computer so I can capture the video that's going on. It takes the signal and shoots it out of the HDMI port all the way back up into the TV. Then I change the TV's input setting to HDMI so I can see what's going on in HDMI, which is actually the PS3's component signal. Confused? The gist of it is this. You need the PS3 to go through the computer before getting to the television. I'm going from the PS3 to the computer with component, but I'm coming out from the computer to the television with HDMI. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. Doing that is going to allow us to record the video and the audio from the game system. So now you're like, well, hey, don't you do commentary? Yes, in fact, I do. Thank you for watching my LP channel. Anyway, in order to record commentary, we have to utilize a different aspect of the computer, and that is the microphone port. On the back of the computer, you have a pink port, or on the front of the computer, like I do. I have a little pink port here. And that pink port is your microphone port. Now, if you have a microphone or a headset, me and Mal use headsets, that has a 3.5mm jack, you can plug right into that, run an audio recording program if you want a free one. Audacity is free. Personally, I use Adobe Sound Booth, and then you can record yourself while you play your game. So you run both of the programs together, and you're recording the game, and you are recording your audio. That is the most basic explanation of that. I go a step further. Now, my headset, which looks like this is the Sennheiser PC151 headset. I'm a big fan of them. They're very cheap, and they perform very, very well. It's got 2 ports on it. It's got green, which is the headphone part, so you can hear, and the pink, as I described a minute ago, is the microphone. So what I need to do is I need the pink to go to the pink part of my computer, and because it's really far away, I run an extension cable, just like I did over there with the component cable. This is a 3.5mm extension cable. It has male on both ends, so I need a 3.5mm coupler, just as I did over there, and that runs all the way into the back of my computer where the pink port is. You actually might be asking, why don't you use the pink port on the front? When I built my computer like 3 years ago, I never hooked that up, and it's real easy to do, but I've just never bothered doing it. I have to take out my GPU to do it, and I just don't want to bother, so I never have. Anyway, you're probably saying, okay, well, then where does that green cable go? Well, the green cable is actually connected to another 3.5mm cable, but this one is female on one end and male on the other, so I don't need a coupler. And the female portion is obviously connected to the green, which is for my headphones, and the male portion gets connected into the headphone jack of the television, right like that. You're probably saying, well, what exactly is that for? Well, if you don't have your headphones plugged into the television, the audio that is coming from the television, the game audio while you're playing, could go into your microphone. and you generally don't want that. You want to keep your mic audio just your voice, so you don't have to worry about altering audio and doing any sort of filters to fix anything. So what we do when we play is we have our headphones in the headsets connected to the headphone jack of the television, so the audio from the TV is going only into our ears, so we can hear the game, everything's fine. In fact, these headsets actually have volume control, so we can individually control how loud we want the TV to be, and then our commentary goes into the headset, the microphone part, into the computer, and is recorded by sound booth. This is all really, really easy to do. I mean, all of this stuff is fairly inexpensive. And if you want to add another headset into the mix, like me and Mal do, because we both record at the same time, you have a few options. For one, you can use a sound card. You can have 2 microphone inputs. You can record with 2 different audio programs, and you can have separate tracks. But that's kind of a hassle, in my opinion. So what we do is we have 2 of these headsets, and here's the other ends of the headsets, and what we use are splitters. So these are 3.5mm splitters, 2 females to 1 male, and what we will do is something like this. We'll unplug this one, plug it into here, like that, and then we'll plug this into here. So basically what's happening is that both headsets, green, which is the headphones, get plugged into the TV. So the TV's audio is going to both headsets, and then you do the same thing with the microphone. You plug the microphone part into the computer, and then you plug both pink ends into the splitter, so you are recording both microphones from the headsets. I have to apologize if any of this is confusing, because I really have tried to do this in the most basic, simplest way possible. It's pretty simple wiring. It doesn't actually cost a whole lot of money except for the capture card. The capture card is about $200. But everything else is pretty inexpensive, and you might already have some of the stuff at your house. So just to recap how this works, the PlayStation 3 is sending its signal through component to this extension cord, which is not actually that important. It goes to the back of the computer, goes into my capture card. My capture card sends out an HDMI cable. HDMI cable goes into my television, and then I set my television to HDMI, and I can see what's going on the PlayStation 3. I run my capture software, I capture the video, and that gives me the video part. For the commentary, we both use headsets. That's the Sennheiser PC151. The microphone part goes into the back of my computer. This is just an extension cable. It's not that relevant. And then the headphone part gets sent into my television, so I can hear what is going on. Once again, the black cables are just extension cables. They are not absolutely necessary, although if you don't have those, you might be, I don't know, very confined to a small space trying to get everything connected. If we're doing a recording of an Xbox 360 game instead of a PlayStation 3 game, the only thing that has to change in the entire setup is taking out the PlayStation 3 cables, which are connected there, and connecting the Xbox 360 cables. Anything that we want to record gets hooked up right there, and we're good to go. We still plug our stuff into the computer, we still plug our stuff up into, the television. The only thing that changes is that. And I gotta say, that is a pretty good recording setup. Actually, some of you might be saying, a few months ago, didn't you buy a box that would allow you to switch between them? I did, and we tried that for a while. The problem is, whenever you run cables through more cables and boxes and stuff, the longer you go transmitting that signal, the weaker the signal gets. The quality becomes very degraded. So after testing it a while, I decided that it just didn't look good enough, and it would be better if I just went straight to the capture card instead of going through a box. So that's why I took that out of the mix. You can still do it, but in my opinion it doesn't look as good. So if you have a box in your setup, I would highly recommend you remove it, because your stuff will look way, way better. Anyway, that is it. I know that was kind of long-winded and probably more of an explanation than you needed, but I hope that you learned something. Setting this stuff up is actually not that difficult. Like I said, it's not terribly expensive. The capture card's $200. The headsets are like $35 to $45 on Amazon, and all of the cables can be gotten dirt cheap at MonoPrice.com. Seriously, if you're going to order cables, just make a list of everything you need, order them from MonoPrice, and you'll be good to go. You will pay nothing for cables. Hopefully I've done a pretty good job of explaining all of this, but if you guys have any further questions, just feel free to leave a comment below. Obviously, I always look at all the comments, and if you have a question I can answer, I will certainly try to. Anyway, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?